Welcome and good morning to Ferry TV. It is the week of August 19th. Last week, I spent some time sharing with you a conversation that I had with a really nice young man. I finally figured out where I had met him. It was in San Jose, California, during the month of June of this year. And our conversation was all about how to get 50 listings a year. Hopefully you watched last week's Ferry TV and you recall that conversation. So one of the things that I did not talk to him about was there's one issue taking 50 listings a year, and then there's the big issue of getting 50 listings a year sold. What I want you to think about is this. What is the ratio of three areas? The ratio of, now listen carefully, listing appointments to listing contract signed, number one. Number two, the ratio of how many listings you have versus how many ever sell. And then issue number three, the ratio of what percentage of the list price do they sell for? Because this is really vitally important to your and my career in growing, moving forward, and building. So a big part of what we have to do is always look at, it's one thing to take a listing, it's a separate issue to get it sold. So today, I want to share with you 10 thoughts that I put together for our clients on how to get your listing sold. A little tedious, not as much fun, a little dry, but I think we all recognize the importance of getting our listing sold. There's no real order of importance to these 10 thoughts. They're just 10 thoughts that I put together for some of our clients back in March and April of this year. I should be sharing them with all of you now, and I'm finally getting around to doing it, so I'm sorry if I haven't done it sooner. I think these can make a lot of sense to you. So here's number one, and it sounds simple and it's so hard. Work hard to price it right the day you take the listing. Have a strong approach with the seller, a detailed CMA, and strong market stats if you want to get your listing sold. Now there's a lot to that, so let me repeat it for you. Work hard to price it right the day you take the listing. So I understand fully that we are taking listings every day with the anticipation of getting a listing, knowing it's not going to sell at the price we take it. And we're doing that for a number of reasons: to beat a competitor, to have some inventory, to have some signs up, to be able to do some marketing and advertising. But isn't the real goal of taking a listing to get it sold? I hope that's the goal. Well, that means you have to take a strong approach with the seller. Is there many sellers that you have that start their conversation during a listing presentation with this? My wife and I are so glad you came out. We're willing to list it at any price you think is reasonable to get it sold. Now, how often do you hear that? Yeah, between 0 and 1% of the time, maybe, okay? So pricing it right the night you take it and taking a strong approach are very challenging. Sellers always want more than what it's worth. If you were to list your home for sale, the odds are tremendously strong that you would overprice it also. So you need to have a detailed CMA that you believe in, strong market stats that you believe in, and you have to role play and practice how to present them to make point number one work to get your listing sold. Point number two, let's go a step further. Let's go back to 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, which some of you were not in the business. We have to do point number two, put a price reduction form in your pre-listing package. Put the form in the pre-listing package. Why do I say that? Well, the biggest thing is you want them to get used to seeing it as they're thumbing through the package of documents you send out. You want them to see, and they're going, Mary, what is this? It says price reduction. I wonder what that means. Well, he'll probably explain it when he comes out tomorrow at 4 o'clock. You want them to get used to seeing a document that is probably going to be critically important within a few weeks of you taking the listing. And then I wrote number three, you have to understand that when we're in a transitional market, which is what the market is today, we're in a transitioning market between a very strong market, 2012, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, in the first half of 18, to the second half of 18 and most of 19, a transitioning market, meaning buyers have more choices today. January of 2018, you took a listing, it sold. Bang. And probably multiple offers, and the price was jacked up. Now, it's still happening in some parts of North America today, but it is not the norm. So today, a buyer has more choices. The choices revolve around the price, the condition, and the location. Avoid listing properties that don't score high in all three of these categories: price, condition, and location. Okay? Always ask yourself this question as a professional realtor. Which listing is going to sell first? The one that is priced right, in good condition, in a reasonable location, or an overpriced piece of junk that is backed up to a tension wire or a freeway? Got to be real with yourself about getting your listing sold. And number 4, which we briefly talked about on number 1, to get your listing sold, become an expert at market stats and use them on every presentation to support your CMA. Market stats become critical. Number 5, in a transitioning market, the seller's motivation is even more important than it was in the past. Adopt the philosophy that every seller has to be pre-qualified 100%. They have to answer every question or you're not going to go out. Think about the doctor. The doctor asks you a question. If you don't answer, doctor's not going to spend any time with you. We're talking about your life and your health. We're talking about getting their home sold, which is a pretty important decision. Ask all the questions. Number 6, I want you to listen carefully. Always ask your sellers this question. Do you understand what these market stats mean and how they affect the sale of your home? Because you're going to present market stats. How many homes are coming on the market each month? How many total homes are for sale that they're technically competing against? How many homes are in their price range they're competing against? How many are in their neighborhood? How many are selling each month? How many are selling? How many are actually closing each month? Number 7, to get your listing sold, accept the customer service becomes even more important. When properties are on the market for an extended length of time, extraordinary customer service, meaning strong, weekly, truthful, upfront communication with the seller. Weekly, W-E-E-K-L-Y, not W-E-A-K-L-Y. 2 E's, no A in weekly. Now, watch. The hardest thing to get most agents to do when they learn to list property is the weekly communication with the seller. If you take a listing on a Monday, there's a good chance in the first 10 days you will not talk to that seller again, because you're getting the flyers made, you're getting the lockbox on, you're getting the signs up, you're getting it put in MLS, you're doing all the things that are important. But that phone call every couple days to update them as to what's going on, you talk about helping you get a price reduction faster. That's how you do it, through good communication. Number 8, we have to learn as quickly as possible the seller's net bottom line sales price. Every seller has a net bottom line sales price. How do you find out? You got to ask a lot of questions, which means your weekly communication becomes vitally important to the process. Number 9, consider the use of a reverse offer. Okay. 2006, 7, 8, 9. I am pretty sure that through the Mike Ferry sales system and through our coaching clients, we probably created 2,000, 2,200, maybe 2,300 transactions, listings sold, buyer sales, that would otherwise never been done if it wasn't for the reverse offer. All right, reverse offer. I created it back in the early 80s for our clients. You've got a listing. It's been shown 2 or 3 times by an agent to a particular buyer. No offer. What's going on? You call the agent. What's going on? Well, the buyer likes it, but they're not really sure, and they're looking at other properties also, and there's other things in consideration. Normal. All right. So now you sit down and say to yourself, let's see if we can get my seller to write an offer to the buyer. I am willing to sell my home to this particular buyer at this price. Write up a contract for your seller to the buyer. We have created several thousand transactions using a reverse offer. And number 10, Consider developing for yourself a simple, straightforward listing evaluation form that you can use for you and you can use for your sellers on getting a price reduction. Okay, watch. Motivation of the seller on a scale from 1 to 10. Realistic price on a scale from 1 to 10. Condition of the home on a scale from 1 to 10. Location of the home on a scale from 1 to 10. Showability factor. How quickly can you get somebody, a buyer, in? Are the sellers getting in the way on a scale from 1 to 10? Sit down with your seller and say, I've evaluated everything we've done so far, and here's how I've evaluated your property, excuse me, in comparison to the competition. Try these 10 points. You know, you may say, well, Mike, there's 2 or 3 that I would never do. I'm okay with that. But that means there's 6 or 7 that you could do to get your listing sold a little faster. I'm excited about the opportunity to share these thoughts with you on Mike Ferry TV, and I'll look forward to talking to you next week. Have a good second half of the month of August. Thanks for today.